When I used to physically go to college, frequently when I would get back home, I would take a nap. Now, usually I would do this on days where I would get back home in the afternoon, and I would usually take around an hour long nap, maybe even longer than that sometimes. And usually I would set an alarm to go off after like 20 or 30 minutes because usually when I take a really long nap, I wake up and I feel worse than I was before I fell asleep because I don't know. I would wake up disoriented and groggy and just feel horrible, and that's why I would usually set a timer. But almost never did I ever abide by that timer, and whenever the timer would go off, I would, turn it off and then just go back to sleep. And then I would wake up and feel that grogginess and disorientation. And overall, I just feel horrible whenever I'm in this state. And whenever I take a really long nap, usually when I wake up, I do not feel well rested at all. But for whatever reason, whenever I'm in this state, my mind just gets so fixated on death and the fact that I'm going to die someday. I know that is very weird, and I have no clue why I think about this whenever I'm in this state, but for whatever reason, whenever I take a really long nap and then I feel that groggy and disorientation. This doesn't happen when I normally sleep through the night. I don't know why. This just pertains to naps, but when I wake up and I'm in this disorientated, confused, and very groggy state, my mind is very fixated on the fact that I will die someday, and that honestly just scares the hell out of me. And that's helped me come to the conclusion that I don't want to die. Now, I never actually had a desire to die. Of course, well, I've had some days where I would think, maybe the world is better off without me, but those are on days where I'm really, really depressed. But I know I would never go through with any kind of suicide, and those are just thoughts, and they probably will never manifest into actions, and, I would never have the bravery to do that. But, anyways, I used to be kind of hard nosed when it comes to death. I would say, well, everyone dies at some point. It's just something you have to face and accept. And when your time comes. There's nothing you can do about it at that point. But god damn it, under all that bravado, I think deep down I was really scared of the fact that I will cease to exist someday, and same with my friends, my family, my pets, everyone in my life will cease to exist someday. And it's very likely I will see quite a few of these people in my life die, well, especially the adults in my life. I have no clue what awaits me on the other side when I do die, and since I'm an atheist, you know, I I deal with the fact that, there very well may be nothing when you die, just blackness, and that's it. That's all you see for the rest of eternity. Nothing but pitch black. You never see your friends again. You never see your family again. You never see any of your loved ones again. Just blackness. But even though I'm an atheist, and I've mentioned this a couple of times in other videos, but I may as well talk about it in depth here because it kind of ties into, the topic of death and my fear of death and what I hope to see after I do die. I hope there is some kind of afterlife. Not exactly a heaven, not exactly a hell, none of that. I just hope there is some way to reconnect with those that you lost during your life. Your friends that may have died before you, your family that may have died before you, your pets that have probably certainly died before you. I really do hope that there is something after this, and I hope that, death isn't actually the certain end of you, and there is some kind of life after this. Now, a few weeks ago, for whatever reason, I was reading reincarnation stories on Reddit told by people who claim to have recollection of some kind of life they lived before the one they're currently living right now. And I gotta say, if that is true, this may very well just be a figment of their imagination, and they didn't actually live a life before the one they're currently living now, and that may very well be the case. In fact, that probably is most likely the case. But you know, that kind of gives me a small little glimmer of hope that there is something after you die. After you die, You get to live as a completely different person and lead a completely different life, or live as a different species of animal, for all I know, and lead a completely different life there. And, honestly, that honestly does sound pretty nice, being able to start over again as a different person with a completely different life, and maybe, when you are that different person leading a completely different life, things will go over much better than the life you're currently leading. But that aside, I pretty much fear the big question mark surrounding death, the big great unknown. What the fuck happens to you after you die? Where do you go? What do you see? What do you experience? Basically, I fear what is most likely the case. Nothing. Just blackness. That's it. That's all you see. That's all you experience after you die. And I really don't want that, honestly. I really, really don't want that. If it were up to me, I'd stay young forever. But I don't know if immortality sounds so great either. I don't know if I exactly want to live forever, and probably something would kill me anyway. If, something that isn't natural causes, assuming that immortality doesn't make you invincible to, like, say, a gunshot or anything else that could kill you outside of your own body. I've always assumed immortality meant you're just immune from dying of natural causes, but not anything like outside of natural causes. But I don't know. I don't know. Forgive me for not being that educated on the concept of immortality. But yeah, I know this is a weird topic, but this is just something that my mind has been so fixated on for a while now that I felt like letting this out in video form. I've always thought of my channel as my own little therapy thing. And plus, the night before, I just woke up now. Last night, I should say, I was thinking about this because I was very depressed all day yesterday, and I was starting to think about this a lot last night. And I always like think about this a lot, especially when I'm about to go to sleep. I think, and this is obvious. This is amplified even more because there was a student in my high school who died this way. I think there is a possibility that I might die in my sleep. And that scares me. And again, I know someone, well, I didn't exactly know them, but, I knew of someone who died that way in my high school. And while that sounds peaceful, you know, I don't like the idea of that. And that honestly made me cry a bit before I fell asleep. The girl in my high school who died that way, she seemed perfectly healthy. She had no condition or anything that the doctor picked up, and then she went to sleep one day and her heart stopped. And she had some kind of condition with her heart that doctors were unable to notice while she was alive. And I kind of have that fear that the same will happen to me. Now, I know this is unlikely, but, I'm sure she thought something like that was unlikely too when she was alive, so, this may be an irrational fear, but, I'm a very irrational person with a bunch of irrational fears. You should know this by now. And again, the very thought of that happening scares the hell out of me a lot, and I tend to think about that sometimes when I'm going to sleep, and last night was a prime example because, again, it made me cry. Call me a wuss, whatever, fuck you, I don't care. But yeah, the virus probably amplified these kind of thoughts and fears too, especially since I live in the epicenter of all this, New York City, and my borough has the most cases out of all the other boroughs, and we currently have 100,000 plus cases and 3,000 plus deaths, and that's supposed to skyrocket this month because April is supposedly the peak, and May could be really bad too. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Anyway, I know this is a very morbid video, but, you know, whatever. This is something that's been floating around my mind now, and I don't really feel like talking about this to anyone else in my real life, so I felt like sharing it with you. So, you're welcome for all this morbidness, and now that this video is about to be over, you can look up a cute video of a kitten or something to lighten your mood up a bit. Anyway, stay safe, stay sanitized, stay as socially distant as much as possible during this time of crisis, and I'm gonna steal something from Undertaker Freak. Don't die. Don't die young, at least. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.